Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, whichever part of the world you are joining us, and welcome to VizConnect Tableau Prep Academy. In the meantime, everyone else is joining. Let me just share my screen and talk about some of the things which Jared and I are excited about, what you will go ahead and see for the next 2 weeks. First of all, thank you for your overwhelming response. Thank you for going ahead and attending all these sessions from your busy schedule. We hope the hands-on session which you attended last week was impactful. Thanks a lot, Jared, for that. So today we'll go ahead and talk about the next phase of this whole VizConnect Prep Academy. This phase is more in terms of we have already given you the foundational knowledge of Tableau Prep. Last week, together, we went ahead and did a hands-on session with Jared, in which we were able to go ahead and create our first flow, understand some of the basic functionalities of Tableau Prep. The next thing which we want you to go ahead and do is to work on a hackathon in which you will get around 2 weeks to go ahead and work on it. And today, Jared will go ahead and show you the data set in terms of what you will go ahead and use Tableau Prep to clean that particular data set. And then you will go ahead, visualize it, create a compelling story, be creative, innovative, and push it to your Tableau public profile so that then we can go ahead and evaluated. We will talk about in terms of how you can go ahead and take Jared and my help in terms of data doctor sessions, which will be hosted on 1st of August, same time, and 4th of August, which will be same time right now. In the data doctor session, we will go ahead and share a form with you so that you can go ahead and push your question over there. And then during the session, we can go ahead and help you out in terms of whatever query or doubt you have. Also, what I have done, thanks to Jared, I have also gone ahead and created a request just to help you out in terms of the hands-on session and the introduction session which you have created. This is something I will go ahead and send it across to you. So feel free to just complete it whenever you get time. They are just 4 questions, so just a basic quiz, help you understand how you're doing in terms of your whole Tableau prep over here. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Jared to talk about the use case. Jared, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have been doing a bit of thinking about what this hackathon should be or what type of data we should be working with here. And I wanted to make sure that it was something that would utilize the things that we've covered here that would challenge you to apply some of your own thinking and then also kind of have levels of difficulty here. And so the thing that kind of stood out to me the most was Spotify data. And that's because it's just an interesting data set to work with. There's so many different pieces of data, different ways that you could analyze it. You could analyze your own listening. You can analyze certain artists, and so the data set that we're going to provide is going to be the discography, the Spotify data for the discography of Deadmau5. Now, if you have kept up with me for a little while, this is the same data set that I did for my Iron Viz. So it's going to be the raw version of it, the unclean version of it, which already is, it can be a bit of a task to kind of figure out exactly how to clean it up. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick to just kind of give a preview of what that looks like. Let's see. So this is what, and I know it's very, very tiny. So here, this is kind of what raw Spotify data looks like when you extract it straight from the API. The main columns here that are going to be used for analysis are going to be these first, what is it, B through K. So these are the Spotify attributes. This is how they measure the sound within songs. And so this data set, when I originally analyzed it, I had pulled all of the albums and all of the songs from every one of the albums to really be able to analyze what is the sound of deadmau5. And so there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here, right? So there's the attributes themselves. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So there's the attributes themselves here. There is the tempo of the songs. That's something that's included. And then you'll also see the song duration, the time signature of the song, and there is one other here. There is this mode, and then there's this key. So mode is basically it's a binary field, so 0 and 1, which is what they use for major and minor. And then the key, they have it listed as integers, but there is a way to convert that into the actual note, the key notes. So this is kind of where it starts to become challenging for y'all. And that's why I wanted to use this data set, because depending on how much time you want to invest, depending on how much you want to challenge yourself, there is a lot. There's a lot that you can learn from prep here, and there's just a lot that you can learn about your strategy for cleaning data. It is by no means it's not, if you wanted to just look at the attributes, right? Because there's a lot of analysis that can be done just from the attributes. You can still get through this relatively easily. Your biggest challenge would be kind of cleaning up over here. Your biggest challenge would be kind of cleaning up over here with the track names. So there's a lot of, there's these special characters in the track names, and sometimes they should be there, sometimes they shouldn't. So it takes some time to kind of inspect what characters are supposed to be there, what characters shouldn't be there. You'll notice as you start exploring it through prep, that there is a lot of duplication, because there has been like re-releases of albums or the same track on different albums. And so not only is there duplication of the song title, but there's also duplication of the attributes, and they don't always come out the same, which is kind of interesting. So there can be some slight variances in the attribute measures for the exact same song on different albums. There might also be different spellings. So I know something that I noticed as I was going through it is sometimes the song name is capitalized and sometimes it's lowercase. And so kind of figuring out how to match those and merge all of those records. So it's definitely a fun data set to play with. And you'll notice a lot of stuff too, like there's these these IDs, these weird URL IDs. And so not all of that isn't necessarily as important, but it does at least provide you with a unique identifier for all of the tracks. And so in Spotify, these tracks, like even though it's showing multiple tracks, they're each their own, like they all have their own web page. If you were to search up the URL, like it will take you to an individual track, even though it's the same track name. So just kind of what I did with this data set whenever I first worked on it. And let me open up my prep flow as well. Let's see. So my prep flow did get a little crazy when I was working with it for IronViz. And you can see there's a lot of different things I brought in. So originally when I did it, I pulled the data set for albums, and then I pulled the data set for singles because I thought I might want the singles as well. Eventually, as I started working with it in Tableau, I decided I didn't want to include singles. I just wanted full studio albums. And you can see I kind of brought in some other things. So like I brought in a data set that changes um, the key from an integer to the actual letters, the actual notes. I did a bunch of stuff to give myself some custom visuals. So the reason why this all looks crazy over here is not because that's what it took to clean the data set. Really, the data set was clean at right about here. So it really only took up to here to really clean everything. but I wanted to use a bunch of different visualizations. So I did, if you look at the finished visual, I did this chart up here. So I turned the logo into individual points using Prep. Then I encoded it with the actual track URLs. So if I click one of these dots, it will take me to Spotify, and I'll pull up that actual track. I wanted to include a visualization like this. So these are like pedals. It's kind of like a variation of a radar chart, but using these pedals instead. And so that was something else that I wanted to. I want all of the data preparation. I didn't want to do any of the joins or relationships or unions, anything of that inside of Tableau Desktop. Not because you can't, or not because it's like I'm not saying like you shouldn't. I was challenging myself. I wanted to challenge myself and see, can I do all of the preparation side in Prep? And so the other thing that I did was this sort of rain cloud plot, which is essentially just half of a violin plot, but then with a sort of scatter plot beneath it. And so that's why mine ended up looking, or my prep flow ended up looking like this, because where'd my mouse go? Each of these branches sort of handle an individual piece. So you can see this top branch here handles the rain cloud plot, and this middle branch here handles the pedals by album. And then there was another branch that handles the pedals by track. So if I go back to my Viz here, you can see down at the bottom, I've got all of the albums listed, and then I've got a little icon for each of the tracks. So when I hover over one of the tracks, it shows me the pedal chart for that track. So that's why I ended up having a bunch of different branches there. And then down here, this very last branch at the bottom, this one is the one where I took all of the track IDs and assigned them to each of the points on that logo. So that's how I ended up getting the ability to hover over here and see all of the songs. So a lot of interesting things you can do with it, right? Like there's definitely, if you look in Tableau Public and look at all of the visualizations that are done around Spotify data, people do it in so many different interesting ways. And so that's why the main topic here is Spotify data. Now, again, the dead mouse data I'm providing because this will make it a little bit, easier, right? That way you don't have to worry about going and sourcing the data and trying to go through all that. Now, if that is something you want to do, if you don't like dead mouse or don't know who he is, and you want to kind of do your own data set, it is going to require a little bit more effort. But there are also a lot of resources out there to make the process as smooth as possible. It will require a little bit of familiarity with Python, but not a huge amount. Really, probably the most difficult thing to get through if you've never used Python before would just be installing it. It can be a pain sometimes. When you read all of the documentation, it is simple, but depending on where it gets stored when you install it, it can be kind of a pain. But for the actual script, you don't have to worry about writing the script to access the APIs. There is a very handy built script already from Sean Miller, Tableau Visionary. So he has a GitHub repo where he has already built out this Python script that allows you to pull the entire discography for an artist. So you could, if you have Python installed, all you would really need to do is create a developer account for Spotify. And I'm going to post all of these links here too, so you have them for reference. But the first thing that you would need is a Spotify developer account. So it's free to sign up. You would just need to sign up for one. And the reason that you need to do that is because you can see in the script that the first thing that you need is you need a client ID and a client secret. These you get by signing up for that Spotify developer account. And so you would just come here, sign up, and you would be able to access that key. Everything here, you can even see he's got nice instructions here. So this is where you paste the client ID. This is where you paste the secret. Down here, this is where you paste the track ID. This is where you paste the artist ID. And then this down here is where you paste the output for where you want it. And so what that looks like, if we take a look at my script real quick, I know mine's in Notepad, so I apologize, but so you can see up here, this is where I posted my client ID and my client secret. Down here, this right here is a track ID. And the way I got that is I really just went to Spotify and I searched up one of deadmau5's tracks. And this right here is the track ID. Same thing for an album, because you can see it also asks for, or not the album, the artist ID. So here it asks for the artist ID. And so if I go and look at deadmau5, this is the artist ID. So you have to use, you do have to use the web browser, but those IDs are the end of the URL for the artist and for the ID, or for the album. So you do, for some reason, even though I was pulling the entire album, I tried putting in only the artist ID and it didn't quite work. So you do have to put in the track ID as well. It doesn't have, it can be any random track from that artist, and it will still pull out all of the tracks and give you a data set that looks pretty much like this, where it's got all of these different columns and indicators there. And then down at the bottom here, this is where I had put my data source. So I just typed in the file path where I wanted my data source. And that's where it just, exported as a CSV file. And that's what I connected to. So again, it takes a little bit more legwork. You have to have Python installed, or you have to install it. You've got to create the developer account. And then you might have to kind of run the script a couple times to trial and error and make sure it's pulling out that data the right way. If you do go this route and want to take your own artist, if you run into any issues, I would recommend utilizing the LinkedIn group, because that can create a lot of collaboration, and we can help each other troubleshoot some of those issues. So I would say the data set that I'm going to provide you, that would be sort of the entry level difficulty. It's still going to be challenging to kind of clean up those fields, but we will be here to help you through that if you run into issues, and hopefully from what we've taught you, you'll at least know sort of where to start. This going and adding the Python factor to it, would be the second level, right? Like you're having to kind of step outside your comfort zone a little bit and extract your own data. The third level of difficulty would really be the same concept. You're extracting the data from Python, but utilizing the built-in script step with Tableau Prep. And I was trying to get it ready for y'all before the meeting, but I wasn't able to. So I will send it out what that looks like. I'll send out a flow of what that looks like. But there are some resources to help with that. So if you decided that you wanted to utilize the script step, and what I'm talking about is this script step here. So you can see I'm trying to get mine to run. I just need to fix my script a little bit. But this does require a little bit more legwork, so you have to have Python installed. You have to configure the TabPy server. You have to install TabPy. And then you also have to add a function, this get output schema function, to your Python script. And so the resources that I would definitely recommend if this is the route you want to go are, let me post in the chat here real quick. So this is a Tableau Prep user group meeting from a couple months ago where Jack Perry went over using the script step. So he goes into quite a bit of detail on how to configure it and about the get output schema function. This is a blog from the Information Lab on setting up TabPy or installing TabPy to be able to use it. Let me see. There is a where is it? Here we go. There is the help documentation here from Tableau. because there are some, you will have to define the actual data type of some of those columns whenever they run through the script set. So again, this is not the question here. Do you need to know scripting to be successful? No, that's why so we're providing the dead mouse data set. That way, if you're not at the comfort level where Python is something that you're interested in learning, or you don't, you're not just at that stage yet, you don't want to interact with the scripting piece of it, we're providing the dead mouse data set. The only reason you would need to know the Python side of it is if you wanted to pull down your own data set. Let's see. Are you going to put questions? That is really not, I don't know if we would put a strict set of questions around this, because I think there's so many different ways that people can approach it. That's kind of the other part of this that's going to be interesting for everybody to see. It's the same for, at least if you decide to use the dead mouse data set, it's going to be the same data set, but it'll be interesting to see the method that different folks took to clean it and then how it ended up being visualized. Or if you do decide to pull down your own data for a different artist, the structure of the Spotify data is essentially the same. So that would still be interesting to see, how different it is, or maybe what is it, a more difficult data set to clean up or an easier data set to clean up. So all of those different factors to it. I think it's really just going to be interesting to see how other folks approach it. So I don't know about any sort of specific questions around it. Really, the exercise here is, we've done a couple of sessions together, kind of going over Tableau Prep, what it can do, how to utilize some of these features. So this is where it's going to feel a little uncomfortable at first, because you don't really have a list of instructions, right? But that's the point. Prep and Data makes it very easy because you do have that list of instructions. But what do you do when you're in the real world and you get handed a dirty data set? Like where do you start? This is where we start to tap into that and challenge that. But again, if you get stuck, we'll be here along the way to try and help. Like I said, utilize that LinkedIn group for any questions if you get stuck, or maybe you're applying certain steps and they're not working right, or anything that we can do to help through that process. But yes, so that would be, again, we're going to start the dead mouse data set. This is going to be provided. The Python here, let me post that link in the chat real quick as well. So this would be the link for the Python script. There is the Spotify web developer script or website. Publishing just the prep flow, or do we publish a viz? So that is that can depend also for you on what you want to focus on. I would say with this specific challenge and with this specific data set, what I noticed as I worked through it was I cleaned it up in prep and then pulled it into desktop. But as I kind of started building out visuals in desktop, it actually helped me spot some additional things that I didn't catch through the cleaning step, like things that didn't make sense. I would filter it by a track and still get like multiple lines or something like that. So it might help, even if you don't want to create a viz around it, it might help still to pull it into Tableau Desktop and do a couple of visualizations just to test and see, did it get cleaned properly? Is it really structured the way that I expect it to be structured? Let me see. So yes, like I said, I'm going to finish up this little flow that I've got here to show what it looks like whenever you're connecting straight to the Python script. I've got a couple of columns to identify, and what I mean by that is if you look at the help documentation for Tableau, you can see there's these functions here: prep string, prep decimal, int. So you can even see it right here. So they've got a sample of what that get output schema looks like. So depending on how it's registered, how the script is read whenever it's running in prep, you really might have to go in and define some of those Spotify columns and define them as a certain data type for them to register properly. So again, that third piece, using the scripting step, is going to be the more intensive one. It's going to take a little bit more time to get through. It is really cool though. I've used that script step to connect to the Tableau Public API, and it's interesting. It does definitely open up a new door to connecting to your data and cleaning it in that way. But yeah, I've that's sort of, you know, that's what we're going to do. That's our hackathon. Spotify data. Like I said, if you look at Tableau Public to get some inspiration on how people analyze that data, it's super interesting. And also, Spotify has, I believe it is. Let me see if I can find it real quick for y'all, because I know these measures, these attributes, danceability, energy, they're just these decimal numbers, so that can be a little confusing. But they do have some definitions on what that means. Actually, let me just look it up real quick to see Spotify attributes. And this is just if you decide to, if you decide that you want to create a viz from it. Let me see. Where is... I'll look this up. I'll look up the documentation. There was a couple of documentation sites I used, but each of these have a very specific definition from Spotify. I was able to find it when I did my viz over here. If I look at it, there is the little pop-out sheet. So you can see they all have a definition of what they mean and how they're being measured. So I'll find that definition for y'all, so that way if you decide to visualize it, that you can do that. Tableau Music Viz Gallery. I believe Sean Miller also has the Data Plus Music Initiative, and does keep track of a lot of the Spotify or music related vizzes out there. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff here. And again, opportunity to challenge your strategy approaching data preparation. Where are you going to start? How do you know how to clean it up? All of those things, and then you can then bring it into the visualization side. And my hope is that this process of taking a complicated data set, cleaning it, and then putting it into Tableau Desktop will help you see how beneficial that process can be. Once I started doing that, I used to always pull my data into desktop and just start dragging stuff in. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go back and look at the data. But starting by looking at the data first and understanding it first really changes the way you think about it. It changes your approach. And a lot of the times it makes it, even though the front end of it can take longer, I find that the Tableau desktop side of it, the visualization side of it, usually goes a little bit quicker. So are there any questions? I didn't. No, yeah, I didn't embed Spotify in the Viz. So the way that I did it, like I said, it was just you just, as you start, it says to click around to pick a song. So you just pick any song here, and then it pulls up that same song in Spotify. And yeah, it is based on the URL. So if I look at the actual prep flow, where is it? Here. So I got a list of all of the tracks and all of their IDs here. And this ID, like I said, that's part of the Spotify URL. So once I had this list of IDs, I assigned it to each of these points. This ID here is what became my point on the logo. And so yeah, whenever you hover over, it shows you the track name. But when you click it, it just pastes this track ID into the Spotify URL to open up that track. Any other questions?
Hey, Jared, just to repeat you what you said. So we will go ahead and provide the Python script to everyone. So it depends on them if they want to go ahead and use the script, create their own data set and pull it into prep. Or we will go ahead and provide your dead mouse data set and they can go ahead and start that from Tableau prep. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I think as Jared said that if you want to go ahead and leverage Python, go ahead and do that, or Jared will go ahead and provide the data set which he used for his iron viz. You can go ahead and get started from there also. And just to repeat, the reason we want you to go ahead and also publish it to Tableau Public is just to tie it end to end, starting from preparing your data set in Tableau Prep, visualizing it in Tableau Dashboard, and creating something out of it so that you are able to go ahead and understand how Prep will add value once you start using it for your internal business projects or Tableau Public initiatives which you want to go ahead and do. So just wanted to go ahead and reiterate on that. And also, just to repeat, we have swags for you. So what we will do, the reason we are going ahead and doing a hackathon is we are giving you 2 weeks. Take your time, go ahead, work on the data set. We will send out a link to you so that you can, once your Viz is ready in Tableau Public, you will go ahead and fill that particular form and put your link over there. Jared and I will go ahead and evaluate your Viz. And what we will do, we will go ahead and select the top 5 Vizes who will get some Tableau swag. It can be a Tableau Prep book, big book or dashboard or some swag from our website. So we'll keep you posted on the follow-up email on that. So you have a good stake online, right? In terms of going ahead, what you will get out from this whole engagement over here. So I think, Jared, there is a question for you. Will we get a separate email with a data set? I have no clue how to use Python.
Yeah, are we going to provide it? Yeah, do you want to just send that in the email list? Send that data set out?
Yes, yes. So I will take that data set from Jared, and what I will do, I will create like a shared folder and put that data set over there so that you can just go ahead and download the data set from there. Any other question? Anything, if someone wants to go ahead and talk to Jared, I'm happy to unmute you. You can just raise your hand. Are you excited? Awesome.
And again, if you're feeling, so another reason why I wanted to do it in this way. So if you're feeling, yeah, a bit overwhelmed, if you're feeling maybe a little frustrated that we're not providing specific instructions, again, that's kind of the point because you don't get specific instructions as you use prep in the real world, right? So uh, this is about using the resources you have available. And the good thing is, even whenever you're in your job, you do have all of these resources available to you. You know what I mean? Like the resources of things that people have put out there, GitHub scripts that people have put out there, blogs, Tableau documentation, and then the community to help you out. So again, we will provide this data set. This data set will be provided to you. So if you do not want to use Python, if you're not interested in that at all, this data set will be provided to you, and the challenge to you will be to clean it up and to visualize it. The secondary pieces are just challenges, additional challenges for yourself. If that's something you want to take on, you want to challenge yourself to do that, and to explore the script step in Python, that is why we're providing that additional piece of it. You like beatbox tracks? Yeah. So you don't need to have a Spotify account. You just need to have the Spotify web developer account. So if you don't have like a Spotify premium or anything like that, that's fine. You just need that web developer API. And so I'll post, or it's this again, this developer.spotify.com. So you just go there and sign up. And once you sign up, I believe it takes a little bit to get like verification email, but then you'll be able to access the client ID and the client secret. And so all you would need to do is, let's see. So you would go to Spotify and then type in the track that you want. And then, so, you know, if I typed in where beatbox, so I see a couple of artists here. So yeah, you would just find whichever artist you want. So I see a Tetris beatbox here. So here's the album ID, right? Or if I wanted this artist instead, here is the artist ID. So that's how you would get that information. You, in prep, again, you can connect to this information. You can scrape this information in prep with the script step, but that you still have to utilize that Python script from Sean. Because all prep is doing is you're not writing the Python in prep, it's just connecting to a Python script that you've already written. But there is some additional steps you have to take, mainly that get output schema from the Tableau documentation. So like I said, the easier piece would be write your Python or paste that Python script, paste the IDs and just run it and export it to a CSV and connect to it that way. That would be the easier way to do it. So whichever approach, both should work. Awesome.
Jared, is there anything else you want to cover?
No, that was it. I just wanted to make sure we had the data set, we knew the task, and then also knew that there is options here. Like I know that Dead Mouse might not be everybody's, everybody might not know who he is. It might not be everybody's favorite choice of music, but that's why we're providing the Python options. But if your main focus is just cleaning up the data in prep, you don't really care about the context or the content there, that's fine. This data set will allow you and challenge you to do that.
Yeah, I think in that case, if you are not able to go in and connect with Jared's data set, Jared, what we can do, we can go ahead and share that sample store data also with everyone. What?
Go ahead.
Let me just share my screen.
Okay.
I will just be honest over here. Let me just show Tableau Prep. So I was talking about this one, Jared, in which we had 4 files, orders for 2019, orders for 2020, global transactions cost, and product survey, right? So I think if someone is finding Jared's data overwhelming, we can also give you an option to go ahead and play around with this data set also.
Yeah.
These are, yeah, that should work, Jared, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. So just to talk about this data set, there are 4 CSPs over here. We'll go ahead and provide the data set to you. So you have to figure out how you can go ahead and create a story out of it. The hint for you over here, it's a global superstore data. Assume yourself, you are a data analyst for a superstore. You want to go ahead and help your manager analyze what exactly is going on with the store in terms of product data, in terms of global transactions and orders data also over here. So we will go ahead and give you an option of 2. The first one is a dead mouse data set, which is by Jared. You can go ahead and use that. And if you're not comfortable using that, you can go ahead and use the Superstore data and create your own story out of it from end to end. Okay.
All right, everybody. I wish you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jared.
Oh, okay. Can you use Python to clean? So you're asking about MIDI files. I haven't used Python before. I'm sure you can, but if you're interested in MIDI files, I know Danushki has a wonderful, yes, there you go. Yeah, it's in R, I know. So, but I don't know how to do it in Python. So if you want the data set, she at least has the resources to do it in R. But I'm sure you can do it in Python. I just have not attempted, and I'm sure maybe somebody out there might have attempted. I can look around though.
Awesome. So just wanted to reiterate on the next 2 weeks. So today we have gone ahead and kicked off the hackathon. So by today, EOD, you will go ahead and receive your data set with all the instructions, how you can participate in the hackathon. So you have entire 2 weeks to go ahead and work on the hackathon. Next Monday, which is in 1st of August, same time, we'll go ahead and have a data doctor session in which Jared and I will be there just to help you to answer any queries and doubts you have in terms of the hackathon. So the data set which you have got and selected, you're facing any problems, any queries in Tableau Prep or Tableau Desktop, we will be there just to go ahead and help you. We'll also send a form so that you can go ahead and submit your question in advance so that we are able to go ahead and understand what your query is. So your data doctor session will be on 1st of August and 4th of August. We'll have two data doctor sessions just to help you. Then on 5th of August, end of the day, we'll ask you to go ahead and publish your Viz to Tableau Public and share the link with us in a form. And on 5th of August, EOD will close the hackathon. After that, we'll go ahead, evaluate the hackathon, and then we'll go ahead and organize the closing ceremony, take feedback from you, and announce the 5 amazing visits which you have created using Jared dataset or the Superstore dataset which we shared with you. So take it as a challenge. If you want to improve in Tableau Prep, I think this will help you to go ahead and feel comfortable. And yeah, as Jared said that, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post into the uh, VizConnect Tableau Prep Academy. Happy to go ahead and answer you and help you in your journey over here. So we are excited and we hope you are also excited about the hackathon and how you can become a data rock star in Tableau Prep Builder. Jared, if you want to add anything else.
Just like I said, good luck. If again, we're here for help. I try to respond pretty quickly, so just send us your questions, and I really hope that this does help you get that understanding of prep and how powerful it can be. So, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.